The idea of Gervonta "Tank" Davis stepping into the ring with Jake Paul has shaken both boxing purists and casual fans. People can't stop asking what would happen if Tank, one of the hardest hitters pound for pound, lands clean on a man much bigger than him, but nowhere near as skilled. Davis is known for his precision and explosiveness, the kind of fighter who doesn't need many punches to end a night. But Jake Paul, despite not being a lifelong boxer, carries real size and strength. He's a natural cruiserweight, walking around at nearly 200 pounds, while Tank normally fights at lightweight. So what happens when a 5'5" destroyer faces a man nearly 70 pounds heavier? Many legends believe if the fight were real and not an exhibition, Tank would take Jake out in 3 rounds. The power differential, the skill gap, and the mindset difference would all favor Davis once the bell rings. Gareth A. Davis, one of the sport's respected analysts, broke down Tank's demeanor at the press conference. He noticed how Gervonta stayed quiet, barely reacting to Jake Paul's taunts about his height and size. According to Gareth, Tank looked uncomfortable, almost as if he'd been forced into the fight by his handlers. He compared the situation to a football fan being dragged to a shopping mall on match day, bored, irritated, and out of place. During the face-off, Tank looked disinterested, like Jake Paul was someone with a bad smell he wanted to avoid. But Gareth warned fans not to mistake that silence for fear. He believed that once the fight starts, Tank's explosiveness would come alive, and Jake would face a storm he's never known. Ryan Garcia, never one to hold back, expressed outrage at the matchup. He called it an insult to boxing and a disgrace to the sport. For Ryan, the fight isn't about skill or competition, but about money and attention. He said putting a lightweight like Gervonta against a cruiserweight like Jake Paul is unfair and dangerous. To him, this fight isn't boxing. It's a show built for clicks and pay-per-view sales. Ryan explained that true fighters chase legacy, not likes. He warned that this kind of event sends the wrong message to young boxers, telling them that hype and drama matter more than discipline and honor. Garcia reminded fans that boxing used to be about proving greatness, not creating viral moments. He said casual fans don't even understand the weight difference. All they'll see is Tank versus Jake, and if Tank doesn't completely destroy Jake, people will think Jake Paul is an elite fighter. Ryan also addressed critics who called him a hypocrite since he once mentioned fighting Jake Paul too. He clarified that he's much bigger than Tank. He's fought at 147 pounds and walks around near 170, while Tank barely weighs 135. The size difference between him and Jake wouldn't be as extreme as it is for Gervonta. Garcia said when Jake was calling out heavyweights like Anthony Joshua, no one complained. But now he's picking a lightweight, and the boxing world should be embarrassed. He emphasized that he doesn't hate Jake Paul personally, but sees this as a mockery. He compared it to when Mike Tyson fought at 60 years old. Fans accepted it as entertainment, not as a real fight. Former champion Shawn Porter offered a veteran's perspective. He said the fight reflects where boxing is heading, a place where quick paychecks outweigh long-term greatness. Porter believes Gervonta Davis has joined the new wave of fighters who prioritize brand deals and easy money over legacy. In his view, real champions used to risk their records for glory. They fought the best to cement their names in history. Now the focus has shifted to social media attention and viral fame. Porter still respects Tank's skill, calling him one of the most talented fighters alive, but says this fight with Jake Paul doesn't honor that talent. Instead, it exposes how modern boxing values spectacle over sport. When asked how he personally feels about the situation, Porter admitted he's conflicted. He said it makes little sense to him, especially given the massive size difference. He doesn't believe this is a legacy fight for Tank, but recognizes it as a generational money fight. In other words, it's a business move, not a boxing one. Many analysts agree that the problem doesn't lie only with the fighters, it's also with the fans. They argue that today's audience rewards chaos more than craft. Real technical fights between top-level boxers often go unnoticed, while influencer matches and drama-filled exhibitions dominate headlines. Social media's short attention span fuels this shift. Fans want viral clips, not 12 rounds of strategy and skill. As long as people keep buying these types of pay-per-views, promoters will keep producing them. The audience has created a demand for circus acts instead of championship bouts. Serious fighters risk their health and careers for respect, but the public gives more attention to those who talk loud and sell drama. From a technical standpoint, experts point out that the Tank versus Jake matchup is physically dangerous. Jake Paul walks around 70 pounds heavier than Tank and has been hit by bigger men without being knocked out. Gervonta may have knockout power in his division, but physics still matter. Size, reach, and punch resistance make a huge difference. If Tank were to close the distance and land clean, Jake would feel it. But the question is whether he could even get close enough. In a real, sanctioned fight, most boxing regulators would never approve such a mismatch. Some observers broke down the fight analytically. Tank Davis is one of the most powerful and accurate punchers at 135 pounds, but his punch output per round is among the lowest in the sport. He relies on timing and precision, not volume. Jake Paul, on the other hand, throws more punches per round for a bigger man and can take hits from naturally heavier opponents. Even if his skills are nowhere near Tank's, he's durable. Over 10 rounds, the question becomes, who shows where first? Tank's speed and explosiveness are unmatched, but Jake's natural size could help him absorb shots that would knock out smaller men. Still, most analysts believe that if Tank lands flush, even the bigger Jake Paul would feel it badly. Showbiz the Adult analyzed the situation from another angle, saying the fight could damage Tank's reputation even if he wins. He explained that Tank's career has already faced criticism for lacking tough opponents. Now, by fighting Jake Paul, he risks being seen as chasing clout instead of glory. Showbiz connected this to Lamont Roach Jr.'s recent performance against Isaac Pitbull Cruz, one of Tank's past rivals. If Roach dominates Pitbull, fans might start questioning how strong Tank's victories really were. In boxing, perception is everything. If other fighters start beating Tank's opponents more impressively, it weakens his legacy. Showbiz argued that Tank needs to focus on defending his credibility, not building his bank account. Lamont Roach himself spoke about the controversy. He claimed Tank breached their signed contract by choosing Jake Paul instead of the rematch they were supposed to have. Roach said he had already started training for the fight, ready to become a two-division champion. He felt betrayed when Tank's camp went silent and then suddenly announced the Jake Paul bout. According to Roach, Tank's decision proves he's chasing the easy payday rather than honoring his agreements. He reminded fans that fighters should respect their word and contracts, as that's part of boxing's integrity. For him, this move showed that Tank's priorities have shifted from championship goals to commercial gains. Max Kellerman offered a more balanced take, recognizing that Jake Paul's business power is impossible to ignore. He said no modern fighter, not even established champions, can match Jake's ability to sell fights and attract attention. That's why real professionals keep agreeing to face him. It's not about respect for his skill, but about exposure. Kellerman debated with Paulie Malignaggi about whether Tank's power would translate against a much larger opponent. They agreed that while Tank's explosiveness is elite, his knockout ability might be limited by the weight gap. A lightweight punching up at a cruiserweight may not get the same results he's used to. Paulie added that true knockout artists prove themselves against top-tier competition. He brought up Felix Trinidad and Mike Tyson as examples, fighters who not only had power, but also used it against elite opponents in their primes. Tyson knocked out everyone in his division from 1986 to 1989, he said, showing what a real knockout artist looks like. If Tank wants to be considered in that category, Paulie argued, he has to test himself against the best fighters in his weight class, not YouTube stars. Comedian and boxing fan Eddie Griffin closed the debate with a brutally honest opinion. He called Jake Paul's fights Hollywood productions, more about storytelling and profit than real competition. He claimed that many of these matchups are scripted in the sense that neither side wants to risk the money. Griffin said Mike Tyson could have easily knocked Jake Paul out in their exhibition, but he didn't because that wasn't in the contract. He suggested the same could be true with Tank's fight. If Tank were to knock Jake out too early, the show would end, and the financial hype would die. Griffin believes both camps know this, so they might be careful not to ruin the spectacle too soon. He described Jake Paul's events as controlled entertainment, where the illusion of danger sells better than actual violence. Still, Griffin admitted the irony of it all. Even if the fight is just a money grab, fans will watch. People crave drama, and Jake Paul has mastered the art of selling it. For all the criticism, the audience remains addicted to controversy, and that's what keeps the cycle alive. He said Tank's punches move furniture, meaning if he really hits Jake clean, it's over. But whether he's even allowed to go full force remains to be seen. Griffin joked that if Tank truly wants to prove something, he should sign a contract saying he'll lose the purse if he hits Jake too hard, and then do it anyway just to end Jake's boxing career for good. In the end, the Tank Davis versus Jake Paul spectacle represents more than just a fight. It's a mirror reflecting what boxing has become. It's a business driven by fame, not fear, by headlines, not honor. Legends from the past risked everything for legacy, while today's stars are often caught between protecting their brand and proving their worth. Whether this matchup turns into a real contest or a staged event, it shows that boxing's biggest battles are no longer just in the ring, they're between money and meaning.